Well, welcome back, everybody. We're back for 2 Minute Tuesday, and we actually have it going out on Tuesday this week. So we're excited about that. We missed last week. Today, we have a special guest with us, Steve Spain, he has quite the background. He's an entrepreneur and started a company called Cooptopia, but he also has a strong background in finance. He worked for Edward Jones as a financial advisor, and he's pretty passionate about budgeting. So we have him joining us today, and we're going to talk about budgeting. So I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to Steve. Steve, why is it that you geek out on budgeting? Why is it so important?
Well, it's a big reason I'm able to do what I do. First off, it's you kind of look at yourself as you incorporated. When you look at your budget, you're looking at your own personal finance like it's a business. And when you look at your finances that way, it gives you more options, more choice. When you run a good budget, it gives you cash flow, which gives you options and lets you really live the kind of life that you want to live.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, definitely. We see the value in that over here. Now, you've worked with a lot of people over time, and you've seen people that they have really awesome careers, and on the outside, it looks like they're doing really well. But that's not always the case. I mean, can you tell us about some of the things that you've seen, whether it's like, I think it's like the millionaire next door where you come across somebody who seems like they would not be, somebody that has a good handle on their finances. And then you come across somebody else who's got what appears to be a rocking job, making a bunch of money and should have it together and doesn't. So can you talk more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we tend to focus on the career itself, being a doctor, a lawyer, but you have lifestyle creep. We tend to focus so much on the income, but you don't think about the lifestyle that it takes to accommodate that type of career. That's one of the major takeaways of The Millionaire Next Door. They talked about doctors and lawyers, and they get into massive debt through school. They graduate with all that debt, so they kind of become almost numb to the debt that they have in there. It's just kind of always there. And you have to buy a better car and a bigger house to kind of maintain that lifestyle. At Edward Jones, we actually brought on a lot of our prospects going door to door in neighborhoods. And some of the people with the most investable income that they could, and assets they could use had smaller houses, more reasonable houses. They didn't, spend every single dollar they had to live in this gigantic house or have the nicest cars.
Okay. Now, can you talk more about, I mean, budget kind of comes across as a dirty word sometimes where it sounds more so like this big constraint, but it really empowers you in a lot of ways to live an awesome life. I mean, you talked about how like you really are focused on your budget, but it's been able to empower you in a lot of ways. Like, can you maybe demystify that a little bit as to why
Yeah.
budget is a good thing and not a bad thing?
Yeah, a budget to a lot of people can be a swear word. It can be a constraint. I think especially for like a married couple, you do need to be on the same page and really communicate. One of the biggest reasons for divorce in the country is finances. So, starting with a budget, getting on the same page is a big piece of that. And the more you talk about it, the more that you work at it, it becomes less and less stressful. But with that said, it can be peaceful. It does empower you when your budget is in line with what your life goals are. You kind of have to start with something emotional, such as paying off debt, saving for a house, preparing for your first baby, whatever it is, you got to have some reason to set that budget. And once you have that in place, it justifies the actions that you do in order to set a budget and to have the discipline to go and live and make the decisions that are in line with your budget. But with that said, once you build that momentum, now you start to have an awareness and control of where your money's going. And that empowers you because you start to gain momentum. You start to pay off debt, you start to save money, and things start to change and happen in your life that otherwise, if you're apathetic and you just kind of spend frivolously, you don't know where it goes, you end up kind of living a life that's not really in line with your goals. And you end up regretting that.
So it sounds like it gives you full control over things and less so you're kind of responding to problems as they come up. You know where you're going and you know what you have to work with, which is
Yeah.
pretty empowering.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the way that I've kind of built my career, I don't have a fixed salary. I have different businesses I'm involved with, but there's some cases where you choose to take whatever income you generate and reinvest it into the business instead of living off that. And if you didn't have savings in place, if you had a lot of debts that you're up against each month, I'd be in a lot of trouble. So I have a lot of peace of mind by living within the budget and having savings in place so that we can kind of have those ups and downs and still live the kind of life we want to.
Awesome. Well, Steve, thanks for joining us today. I know we probably went way over 2 minutes again, but it's always tough when we're like jamming out on this stuff. So thanks for sharing some of your wisdom about budgeting. Maybe we'll have you back again soon. Just to kind of conclude, I want to let everybody know that you can learn more about the financial literacy course that we have available at morganfranklinfellowship.com. And thank you for tuning in. And we'll be back again next week for hopefully our 2-minute Tuesday and not our like 22-minute Tuesday. But thanks again, and we'll see you guys next time.